TG Geeks, episode 29, July 13th, 2015. Sci-fi and horror? We have a museum for that. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, your producer here at TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also in Phoenix, Arizona, but then where else would I be?
Exactly. Well, this week we have another interview for you, so let's get to it.
Captain, I am detecting a presence heading toward the studio. And here he is. Yes, this week we are speaking with Huston Huddleston from the Hollywood Sci Fi Museum in Los Angeles. Welcome aboard, Huston.
Hello. It was I got to tell you, it was a tough transporter ride. I first ended up in the mirror universe, and but finally I got back with you guys, so that's good.
That's good. All right, so we're here to talk with you, a little interview, and you can tell us about yourself. What is it? Who are you, and what it is that you do, and what do you want to talk about with us this week?
I started out in this world coming from a father who was a songwriter, did some Disney movies and Sinatra songs and all that, and my mom was a singer. So I grew up as a screenplay writer and comedy writer, and about almost 3 years ago, I discovered these two bridge sets from Star Trek, the Enterprise bridge from the original series, the Captain Kirk, and the Next Generation bridge set, and I began this thing called the Save the Bridge Restoration, and started as a nonprofit, and then I discovered there was no place to put these bridge sets once we finished, and so me and a bunch of the people behind Star Trek created are creating the Hollywood Sci Fi Museum.
Wow.
And by 2016, we'll be traveling it, and by 2018, we hope to have a permanent location.
Oh, so this is going to be a touring museum then?
Well, the first incarnation will be, simply because we don't have any land yet or a building to put this in. And plus, putting it in a location that already exists, you already have a built-in fan base and audience and membership. So if we went to, I highly doubt we're going to get in the Smithsonian, but I mean, you go there and it's like, wow, suddenly millions of people know about us without even having to do a thing.
Exactly. So
yeah, that makes the most sense because, we're talking millions and millions of dollars to open up our own museum.
Right.
So how are you going about in terms of, I mean, obviously you need some kind of financing and funding in order to be able to kind of pull this off. How are you approaching that?
A lot of stealing from, people who walk down the street. No, it's...
there you go.
Pickpockets.
Yeah, deep pockets in Beverly Hills, going up to people in Beverly Hills and saying, I know what you did, and then they give you their money.
Exactly.
Blackmail. Yeah, everybody's favorite game.
But you don't have to say what they did. You just
exactly.
Say,
you just say,
I know
what you
did it. I know what you Hey, isn't that a movie? Yeah, I know what you did. And they'll spill.
And you get even more if you say, and I know where the bodies are buried.
I know what you did, and I got pictures.
Exactly. There you go.
Since we're a nonprofit 501c3 educational foundation, we can legally go to other grants and sponsorships and all that sort of thing. But the bulk of our initial money was given to us by fans who just wanted to see this happen.
Oh, wow.
So we did Kickstarter. We've done 2 Kickstarters and 1 Indiegogo. And our first Indiegogo was kind of a stinker. It didn't really work because I didn't know anything about it. And by our first Kickstarter, we raised about $68,000. And our second Kickstarter last year, we raised $93,000.
Oh,
wow, that's pretty good.
Very good.
And that got us on our way. That without the fans, we would not be doing this. I mean, it's really that cut and dry.
I went to your website, and that would be, I believe, HollywoodSci-Fi.com. And there was a very nice interview or video that you did. And I believe one of your visions of this museum is that science fiction can also be educational.
Oh, absolutely. People have been wanting to do a sci-fi museum for 50 years. Easy.
Right.
Starting with Corey Ackerman from Famous Monsters magazine.
Oh, I remember that in its first incarnation.
Yeah, well, Floyd also had like the biggest science fiction collection in his house. It's no wonder he would like to start a museum.
Forey wanted to do that, and Bob Burns also, and there have been a lot of people who wanted to do that, but it just never worked for whatever reason. And I have a list of people, really famous, rich people with a lot of connections who tried to do it, but they tried to do it in the 90s. They tried to do it in the 80s or the 70s or even the early 2000s, and it just didn't work. I think by making this, by tying in NASA, by tying in Lockheed and Boeing and SpaceX and all the other space exploration and scientific foundations and corporations, we can reach a different level and not just, hey, here's a prop. Look at this prop. Isn't this cool? Okay, let me take a picture and sit in the captain's chair and bye. You can actually learn about what the prop was in the show, who made it, and what's the real science behind science fiction. How does this tie into reality? You see Robbie the Robot. Is Robbie the Robot, are we beyond that? Are we further than that? What other applications would it need to work in real life? All this stuff. And the same goes with the Batmobile, the captain's chair, the Enterprise bridge. Well, how does warp speed work? How would it work? And it's so easy to do. It is so simple to spend a little extra time with some NASA astronauts and scientists and get that footage, and then you just program it on the computer in the exhibit. And suddenly you've opened the doors to a brand new type of museum that there's never been before.
Yeah.
One that, if you're interested in costuming, you can learn about costumes. If you're interested in prosthetics or CGI or the artistic side or the writing side or the directing or whatever, it's all there. Choose what you want to learn or what you're interested in, and it's a Pandora's box of amazing stuff about whatever you're interested in. And I'd love to go to a museum like that. It's totally selfish for me.
Wow.
I'm doing this for me. I want to go to a museum like that.
Exactly.
So
that's
look,
what we would have loved to have.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're
kids.
trying to come up with a museum that's very interactive, obviously.
Absolutely. This is the age for doing that.
Absolutely.
Touchpad computers you can buy online for $100, 10-inch pads or Surface or whatever, and you put those in museums. There's no telling what you can do. And the programming, there are so many IT guys and programmers who've come to us saying, I want to help. I know you don't have money yet, but we want to help. And,
wow.
Well, of course.
That's a gold mine right there. That's an absolute gold mine.
And speaking of that, I mean, have you thought about also in terms of some of the educational aspects of it, have you thought about like reaching out to Michio Kaku, who loves to do, he's a big sci-fi nerd and likes to write books about how can approach it in a scientific method?
I would love to. Shoot, one of the first people I tried to contact was Stephen Hawking. I tried to reach him, actually his wife. I want to get Bill Nye, all these guys, certainly Tyson, all these people, not Michael.
Yeah, not,
Tyson too,
yeah, Neil deGrasse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm kidding, yes.
Maybe Mike Tyson can share with you.
Mike Tyson, I want on, yeah.
You can share the science of boxing.
Tyson, of course.
The science of boxing.
Yeah. But no, he's good friends with Brandon Braga, who's a friend, because they did Cosmos together. But no, all these amazing people who get what we're trying to do. And between them and a couple of our board members who are with NASA, this can happen. And we're almost to that step. That's what we're working on now is what will be the first exhibition of what we're doing and where it will be and which museums are interested in that. And we're just narrowing all that down so that by the beginning of next year, we'll have this stuff on display in at least one museum, and possibly more.
So how long has this been going on?
All my life. No, it's been going on since, well, I first got the bridges back in the end of 2011.
Wow.
November of 2011, a guy from a warehouse told me that, look, if you don't take these things, they're going to be destroyed, meaning the Enterprise D bridge from Star Trek Next Generation. I went down there, took a bunch of pictures, and saw the captain's chair, like, sitting on the gravel, had been rained on for over 5 years.
Oh, my.
You're going to make me cry.
I found pieces of the computers in the back that had been just sitting in a dumpster. I found the doorbell on Picard's wall was just on the ground, being stepped on. All this stuff, it just, I can't, but this kind of stuff happened so much during Paramount. Just like, what's all this crap? Oh, let's just dump it. Let's pull out the bulldozer. It's just more crap. Then there were people like Michael Okuda and the people who really cared, who would save stuff when they could without being fired. Because, you were against policy if you tried to save stuff. Whatever.
What?
This is the catch-22 that I've learned. It falls into two categories. They don't want to pay the storage to save stuff and to keep it forever. And they don't want it to get into the public's hands because, oh no, they're going to make a fan film or they're going to use it for something else, for another movie. It goes between paranoia and money and paranoia. Mm. I don't understand it. They'd much rather destroy things so it wouldn't get in someone else's hands most of the time. And just as of the end of June, I saved some props from Oblivion, the Tom Cruise movie. I saved the bubble ship, the entire ship, from being destroyed.
Wow.
Because I had some friends at Universal, and they told me, if you don't get this, it's going to be gone. And so they said, do you want it? I said, yes, absolutely. So they shipped a 40-foot metal container to us, and that's going to be one of the things on display along with a bunch of other props and such. This stuff happens. If you don't get on their good list, if you don't get on their nice list, you'll never know about it, and it'll be gone.
Wow.
And then
I'm really dismayed at how Paramount seems to have such disregard for their sets. I mean, and you talk about fan films, I mean, good grief, how many people have actually painstakingly reconstructed the bridge set for their own fan films anyways? Oh, that's ridiculous. Well, I'm glad at least somebody, you were able to come along and be the angel of mercy and save these things. I mean, hearing you describe the condition they were in, it was like a knife in my heart.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell you that it's not Paramount's fault. It really isn't. And to blame them as a studio isn't really fair because what it was, it fell between the cracks somewhere in the mid-2000s, 2005. The Next Generation set that I have was made for a tour back in the late 90s, 97 or something. And it was used on this tour, and then it was put in storage, and then I don't really know the entire story, but that's all I know. Paramount sold the rights to Star Trek television to CBS, and people lost their jobs, people got fired, people whatever. And as you probably know, when one person loses their job, they're not going to tell the person that replaces them, where all the skeletons are hidden.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, screw you, goodbye. And these sets, I don't know. I really don't know the story, and I don't really want to know the story because I don't want to know too much and be held responsible. But all I care about is I was there at the right place at the right time. I took a huge leap of faith. I paid $7,000 to ship them, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them, but I knew if I didn't save them, they'd be gone forever. And I just, like I mentioned, I just did the same thing with the Oblivion ship, and I've done similar things with other props that are just screen-used, iconic props, beautifully made, cost millions of dollars, and I'm in a fortunate enough space right now that I have places to store them that are either cheap or free, and I have friends at places where they know that if they give them to us, that they'll be protected.
Wow, that's great. So you expect to have at least a temporary exhibit by early 2016? Is that what I'm understanding?
It may even be as early as the end of 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
We've been offered places. We've been offered spaces. It's generally how much money we can raise and how quickly we can get it together.
Right.
We could do it for $500,000. We could do it for $3 million. I don't know. However much money we can raise from the sponsorships. I mean, I'm going back to Google. I'm going back to Microsoft and Bentley and some of the other companies that have donated in the past. And I'm going to tell them, hey, look, folks, we can do this with your help.
Super.
And whatever amount of money we can get is what we'll put into this exhibit, because none of us have been paid yet.
Wow.
I've been doing this for 3 years now, almost, and I still haven't made a dime. I knew if I didn't do it and keep it rolling, it would die.
Right.
And
It's
I
a
didn't want to
labor
do
of
that.
love. What else have you got in the works right now? You have any other projects that you want to talk about?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, there's a big major thing that we announced at Comic-Con at a panel, and possibly people don't know the two are tied in with each other, but let me just preface this. It's called the Hollywood Horror Museum.
Wow.
It began because I had all of these people coming to us saying, hey, I have these props from such and such horror movie. Well, it's not really appropriate for the Sci-Fi Museum. And so I felt bad about it, but it just, they don't really mix. I mean, there are a few movies, The Thing or Alien, the two I can think of offhand, but the rest just don't really work. And you don't want to scare the crap out of people who are into sci-fi,
Right.
So,
Yeah, I don't think you want an animatronic alien all of a sudden coming out of the wall.
oh, I do. But,
Well, you do, and I would kind of dig it. I don't know how about an 8-year-old.
right. Yeah, exactly. That'll turn people off.
Yeah, you need a
So
therapist at the
I,
exit door.
Yeah. So I started thinking about it, and something interesting happened. In the end of 2014, there were all these stories about Universal destroying the soundstage, Stage 28, which had the oldest movie set in the world in it, the
Right.
Phantom of the Opera set.
Right.
And it had been there since 1924, I think, and they were going to destroy the stage, but they were going to save the set. And it's this massive opera house set that has been used in so many movies. And you can even see it in an episode of Knight Rider. It's this gorgeous set. And I contacted Uni about it because, like I said, I have friends there. And I said, what about, what are you guys doing? They said, well, we don't know yet. And so I said, look, if we created a horror museum that was right next to our sci-fi museum, the first thing, it would look like a castle on the outside, Dracula's castle. But the real Dracula's castle that's in Romania,
Right.
from the 1500s, the real Vlad the Impaler castle. And then you'd step inside, and the first thing you'd see is a giant opera house from Phantom of the Opera. And so you'd have this whole Hollywood historical thing in there, and then you'd have the different displays, the classic monsters, again, to try to separate. You'd have the gore and the R-rated stuff, but that would be in a separate room.
Right.
You wouldn't want to scare the crap out of people just walking in.
Right.
So I brought this to our board of directors for the Sci-Fi Museum, and I said, are you guys cool with this? And they said, yes, we get what you're trying to do, that it's not just one niche, that you have a whole new set of supporters and followers, and you could teach different things if you do the horror museum. So the story's already too long. We have this board of directors that could choke several horses. We've got Clive Barker, we've got Tom Holland, we have Joe Dante, Jennifer Lynch, the Soska sisters, who else? We're getting Tom Savini, Sean S. Cunningham, who did Friday the 13th. Golly, it just, and
Wow.
the list goes on and on. We're
Well,
just
it's a real-
pulling more people as we can.
Yeah, that sounds like a real...
Don Coscarelli, who did Phantasm.
Yeah.
They all want to be a part of this because it's like our sci-fi museum. It's not just a bunch of props. It will actually teach horror literature and the aspects of it, the scientific aspects, as well as the psychological aspects,
Yeah.
and the prosthetics, the makeup.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you know this, but we would not have glamour makeup had it not been for horror makeup.
Right.
Because Max Factor was originally for special effects. It was all pancake makeup until Jack Pierce started making the horror monsters, and they had to create gashes and wounds and bloody stuff, So yeah, that's in the works, and that all came together in about a month, where it took us a year and a half for the Sci-Fi Museum.
That's amazing. Well, since Rick Baker is supposedly retiring, he's going to have lots of time on his hands. You should hit him up.
I've been bugging him. He's been tied up with his with the auctions and trying to close up his shop. But no, I would love Rick Baker.
Actually, this would be an awesome time for you to maybe get your hand on some of his stuff.
Yeah, maybe he can.
I would love it. And I also heard that he has an entire basement that's filled with the Frankenstein lab, that he built his basement as the Frankenstein lab. What I would give to go to that.
Wow, amazing.
So that was a recent project that you started then.
Yeah, very recent, and it just came together like, Zoom, like the magic fairy just came in and threw a little wand and said, "I shall bless you," and
wow, that's incredible.
It is incredible.
Are you looking at getting that? I mean, once you get the Sci-Fi Museum permanently established in its final location, were you looking at getting the horror museum done at the same time?
I would like to, but again, we're 2 years behind with the horror museum. But it's, in certain ways, it's easier because there are not as many pieces of the octopus's arms. It's pretty cut and dry compared to the Sci-Fi Museum, if that makes any sense. The sci-fi, you're dealing with space and science and NASA and all these governmental facets. And with the horror thing, it's universal mainly, but like 80% of the monsters are universal in classic monster films. And then you have Paramount owns Jason from Friday the 13th. Freddy's owned by New Line. So you're not dealing with that many companies. And I think that we're going to be able to do a tour of the horror museum by 2016.
Wow, that would be incredible.
The same person who's helping us with the Sci-Fi Museum just said, "Oh yeah, the horror one's cinched." I said, well, shoot.
Well, that
Great.
works.
So, listening to you talk about these museums and some of the things that you said, how you wouldn't mind seeing an alien, an animatronic alien pop out of a wall. It's pretty clear to me that you're a fan.
No, I'm doing it for the money.
It's all for the fame and fortune.
But you haven't gotten paid yet.
Yeah, no, I'd have to be. If this were a sports project, I wouldn't be very good at it because that's not something I follow, and there are things I like more than others, but who cares? This isn't a Houston museum. This is for everyone, and I want to include things that I'm not as familiar with. Babylon 5 I'm not that familiar with. Stargate I'm familiar with. But I'm not a huge fan of, say, Saw as much as I am the Dario Argento movies for the horror side.
Right.
But who cares? This isn't about me. This is about making other people happy.
Exactly.
So how did what was your introduction to this area of the sci-fi Hollywood, horror genre? And the only reason I'm asking is just to try and get, a glimpse into your head, shall we say.
Oh, you don't want to do that, mister. You'll be running down the street screaming. No, I'd say with the sci-fi side, I grew up with action figures, with Star Wars and Star Trek. It started with the toys, and it started with watching reruns of Space 1999 and Star Trek, the original. And with horror, it started by being scared by movies and The Exorcist and Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Not Friday the 13th. I actually didn't see the first Friday the 13th till just a few years ago because I refused to see it cut because I heard that the American cut had been butchered by a few minutes, and I finally saw the Japanese cut, and it was gory and scary and all the rest. I digress. With the horror side, it was more like, why am I scared by this? The horror films that still scare me the most are not the boo kind of movies. It's the supernatural ones. It's the ones that could actually happen. Exorcist, terrifying still, because you care about the characters.
Right.
The same with Poltergeist. You got these sweet, loving characters that you care about, real actors not some idiot running around and, the fans, the kids are going to try to get laid and smoke weed. Okay, that has its place, but where you actually care about the characters. And it's the same with Star Trek. These cold, thoughtless, inhumane things without any emotion. Okay, technically interesting, all that, but the ones you actually love and care about. The Matter of Man episode, or I think that was the name of it, the Data one from Next Generation, where is he an android or
Measure of a
a
Man?
Human? Measure of a Man. Oh my God! If that doesn't have you in tears or emotionally, that or the one he has the child.
Yes.
Oh golly, man! Or the original series with, of course, Keeler, Helen Keeler.
Edith Keeler.
Edith Keeler, yeah.
Sitting on the Edge of Forever. Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, we have
that
a science fiction
tears you
story that can actually have a lot. I mean, it's not just this whole, there's this cold, very stark kind of THX 1138 kind of vibe to it. Science fiction can have a lot of emotional resonance to it, and I think that's something that a lot of skeptics, shall we say, or naysayers to sci-fi, my mother, that they kind of, they turn their nose up at it because they don't fully understand that there can be a lot of emotional content to it, that heart and science fiction can go hand in hand together, and that with sci-fi there's also a lot of humanity.
Correct. Hey, for me, there's a place for everything. I love Peter Greenaway movies. You can't get less emotional than a Peter Greenaway or Alan Robbe-Grillet, if we're going to go that artistic highbrow. Or even in David Lynch movies, which
those are mind benders.
Vin Vendors, but Vin has a lot of emotion in his films. But yeah, all these things that I appreciate. The whole umbrella of things, but the things that really get to me, the things that I want to try to share that emotion with others with these museums, is where you're affected emotionally by them. It may be as simple as seeing Michelle Nichols talk about the Galileo shuttle, for instance, or Walter Koenig talking about, one of the Tunics or the Phasers, or Bill Shatner, or a tribute to Leonard Nimoy, or whatever it happens to be. That gets to people. That's a part of their childhood, their growing up. And if I can do that, if I can be a part of giving people that to take with them for the rest of their lives, then the whole thing's worth it to me.
Fantastic. So for anybody who wants to follow the progress of your two museums, how can they do so? And are you on social media? I mean, I've already said that you have a website for the Sci-Fi Museum, and that's HollywoodSci-Fi.com. Is there any other internet presence that you have that you wish to share with people?
Oh, we're so all over the internet, it's disgusting. It's like, get away from me. We're sick of seeing you people. No, it's we're very active on Facebook. You can follow us by Enterprise Bridge Restoration, specifically for the Bridge site, or Hollywood Sci Fi Museum, or Hollywood Horror Museum. We're on. I mean, just type in search or Hollywood Horror, any of that stuff, you'll find us. HollywoodHorror.org is our website. And yeah, just any of those will take you to more than you'd probably want to know. But we're still working on the video for the Hollywood Horror Museum, because I really want to knock people's socks off with it. So I'm getting a lot of interviews with famous people as well as fans. I just want to share one quick thing with the horror side of things. I'm more of a sci-fi fan than a horror fan. I appreciate horror on an aesthetic level and artistic level. I met two people. One was a little girl who was like 9 or 10 years old, who was dressed up as Reagan from The Exorcist. And she had the cuts on her faces and the nightgown, and
creepy.
She looked horrible, terrifying. And she told me that she wanted to become a writer because of watching horror movies, and she wanted to learn more about Stephen King and how he wrote and how they write what they write. This little 10-year-old girl, and the parents were standing there saying she did it on her own. We weren't even really into horror, but she wanted to, that blew my mind. But then the one that really blew my mind, there was this guy who told me that he was afraid of everything. He was paranoid to go outside. He was scared of everything. And then he started watching horror movies, and he started to not get scared by becoming where you face your fears, and then you learn not to be afraid. And then he started to watch the behind the scenes, and he learned that, okay, well, this horrible zombie on Walking Dead is actually just a puppet. You pull off the rubber, and it's a hand puppet, or it's an animatronic puppet that's worked by remote control. And it starts out with a drawing. It starts out with a mold and a sculpture and so and so. And now he's not afraid. He worked his way over those fears through horror movies.
That's incredible.
Blew my mind. And so there's good that can be had by presenting it like that. I truly believe that, and I've seen it being done. To me, this is a spiritual quest. You know, if anything else, I think this will be my legacy, and I'm proud it is.
No, it'd be an amazing legacy. So if anybody wanted to financially help, I assume if they went to these websites, there'd be some sort of a link that would show them how they can offer any kind of financial assistance towards either of these museums?
Financial, or just spreading the word, or volunteering, or anything, any way, shape, or form. If they have a prop that they've had in their collection for God knows how long, and they want to display it, they don't have to give it to us. All they have to do is just lend it to us to show to people and to display. My name's on there. I'm the easiest person to find on a website. It's Huston at newstarship.com, NEWSTARSHIP. But you can find it on, HollywoodSci-Fi.com or org, ORG, or HollywoodHorror.org. You don't have to have money to help us. That's the bottom line.
Great.
Because Lord knows I don't have any money right now because, I've given up 3 years of my life on this. But the time, the enthusiasm, and the love of what we're doing, that helps immensely.
Great.
Super. All right, so this week we've had Huston Huddleston of the Hollywood Sci Fi Museum and the upcoming Hollywood Horror Museum. Thanks for joining us this week.
Thank you very much, Huston. It's been a joy talking to you.
Thank you, guys. You too. Nice meeting you.
Here are a few selected birthdays for July 13th through July 19th. July 13th, our very own Ben is celebrating his birthday today.
Happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me.
Yes, happy birthday. Harrison Ford is 72 on July 13th, and Colton Haynes is 26.
I share a birthday with Colton Haynes.
You certainly do.
Wow, that's a trifecta with Harrison and Patrick.
And Sir Patrick Stewart is 74 on July 13th. On July 14th, Jane Lynch is 54. William Hanna of Hanna-Barbera would have been 114 on the 14th. Ingmar Bergman would have been 97.
And probably a vampire by now. Bleh.
Bleh. And Harry Dean Stanton is 88. July 15th, Alex Karras would have been 80. On July 16th, Ginger Rogers would have been 103, and Barbara Stanwyck would have been 107. On July 17th, Donald Sutherland is 79, and Phyllis Diller would have been 98. Ha 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 ha. And J. Michael Straczynski is 61.
And don't forget, Disneyland is 60.
And Disneyland is 60 on July 17th. That is correct. July 18th, Vin Diesel is 47. John Glenn is 93.
Wow, he's still going too.
First American in space. Grant Bowler is 46, and Paul Verhoeven is 76. On July 19th, Benedict Cumberbatch is 38. Jared Padalecki is 32, and Brian May, 67.
Wow.
Pat Hingle would have been 90. And Charles Mayo was born on July 19th in 1865. And we go from the healer to the killer. Lizzie Borden was born in 1860. And to a painter and sculptor, Edward Degas was born in 1834.
There's a lot of notable people for the month of July.
Absolutely.
I feel so privileged and honored.
Kind of interesting, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello everybody, Jeremy here to tell you about Casual Mode with Jeremy and David, the podcast for geeks of all trades and masters of none. Every week, my best friend / little brother by spirit, David, and I talk about a wide variety of geeky topics, from video games and technology to pro wrestling and even sports. Yes, that's right, sports fans, you're geeks too, whether you'd like to admit it or not. We also occasionally have interviews, and we go over the silliest news and dumbest tweets of the week. We're not a podcast for kids, though, as our podcast is uncensored. Our takes are raw, and if there's a topic that needs a good hard look, we're gonna give it to you. Throughout the week, we also have additional content, including Let's Plays, vlogs, and special single-topic minis that run the gamut of the topics we cover. Pro wrestling, college basketball, the competitive Pokemon scene, and so much more. So, where can you find all these wonderful things? Well, you can either check us out on the FNX network at fnx.network, or you can check out our website, casualmodepodcast.com. We've also got links to all our various different social media outlets, such as Twitter and Facebook. And if you search Casual Mode on YouTube or iTunes, you can subscribe to us and get everything as it is posted. And of course, don't be afraid to let us know what you think by leaving comments on all of those various different outlets. We're always looking for ways to make the show better and more fun for us and for you. We hope you'll join us for Casual Mode with Jeremy and David, coming to you every week. Until next time, later y'all.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the two gay geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
Head over to Casual Mode Podcast and give them a listen. And now it is time for some listener feedback. Well, it looks like this week all of our feedback is from the website, and most of it is actually on the episode 28, the interview with Mark Biaggi.
Oh, well, excellent episode, and I've seen some of the comments, and they were all very, very positive.
Absolutely, and everybody liked it. So
Imagine that.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing.
Imagine everybody liking it.
So if you want to give us a comment and you want to comment on our Facebook page, you can comment on our YouTube episodes or at tggeeks.com, as everybody did this week, and you could receive a shout-out on a future episode. Or you can call our listener feedback line, and we will play your comment on air. That's 469-TG-GEEKS, 469-844-3357.
This is Mark Biaggi, and you're listening to the Two Gay Geeks webcast. You name it, they'll talk about it.
Okay, I got a few stories I want to touch on because, just had seen San Diego Comic-Con, and as we expected, there's a lot of really hot news that come out. One of the big things, of course, is Star Wars, and there was an enormous Star Wars panel. The fans at Hall H were treated to a special look behind the scenes of The Force Awakens by JJ, as well as Lucasfilm president Kathleen Kennedy and writer Lawrence Kasdan. The filmmakers were joined on stage by the cast members Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac, Domhnall Gleeson, etc., etc., etc. But the real treat were the appearances of Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford, and they received standing ovations. And at the end of the Hall H presentation, the entire Hall H audience of more than 6,000 fans, they were all invited to continue the celebration and join the cast and filmmakers at a surprise Star Wars fan concert. I would have given my teeth for this one. The San Diego Symphony performed the classic Star Wars music from John Williams at the Embarcadero Marine Park South. That would have brought
Wow.
tears to my eyes. Anyway, the video that was presented at Comic-Con is going to be available on our website as part of our show notes. So I would recommend everybody checking that out.
Yes. Thank you to the Comic-Con and Star Wars for that Comic-Con reel.
Yes, it was so awesome to watch. And in further Star Wars news, the directors for the Lego movie, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, are going to be doing another of the anthology films featuring Han Solo.
How about that?
It's about time. As Lucasfilms officially announced, the film focuses totally on Han's early days and his path towards becoming the galaxy's top smuggler, chief, and scoundrel. Lawrence Kasdan and John Kasdan are going to pen the script. Lawrence, of course, is well known for writing other Star Wars entries, including Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, as well as The Force Awakens. And the directors say, this is the first film we've worked on that seems like a good idea to begin with. We promise to take risks to give the audience a fresh experience, and we pledge ourselves to be faithful stewards of these characters who mean so much to us.
So we're going to get more information on Greedo?
It's possible, but at the same time, what I like about this is for the same reason that I'm actually okay with the idea of J.J. Abrams actually directing Force Awakens, and that is, these are fans.
Yeah.
These are people who are in love with the product, they're in love with the universe, and they want to play in the sandbox but not mess it up.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing.
So
don't mess up the sandbox.
Don't mess up the sandbox.
Don't
no.
poop in the sandbox.
Don't poop in it. Don't steal any of the toys, because those are really fun toys and we like them all. Add new toys as long as they fit. And of course, the big question now is, who the heck are they going to get to play a young Han Solo? Because obviously you can't use Harrison Ford, but you need somebody who could kind of bridge that gap between maybe a youthful innocence to that snarky kind of wise-cracking attitude that Harrison brought to the part. So it'll be interesting to see who they get for the part. The Han Solo film is slated for a May 25th, 2018 release date.
Wow.
I'm kind of stoked by that. No, but we do have all these other movies that are going to be filling the gaps. So we've got lots of stuff along the way. So I love what they're doing here with this. Now, in other news, last May, Tomorrowland director Brad Bird had let slip that his 1999 box office dud turned beloved classic, The Iron Giant, might find its way back into theaters for a special re-release.
Well, that could be interesting. I thought it was a good film.
I thought it was a great movie. Very heartwarming. It's no wonder that because of Iron Giant that Brad got pegged to become a part of Pixar.
Yeah.
Because he understands not just animation, but he understands the importance of storytelling. And that's why Iron Giant is such a great movie. Now, he said to Collider, I think something will happen fairly soon. They know that people have a fondness for it. I would love to see Iron Giant back into theaters, if only for a week. Now, it's not going to be for a week's run, but everybody pull out your calendars and circle September 30th. Warner Brothers and Fathom Events are putting a remastered signature edition version of The Iron Giant in theaters for a very limited engagement. The special event screening will take place at 7 p.m. on September 30th, with an encore showing on October 4th at 12 p.m. in participating theaters around the country. The new remastered cut will include 2 all-new scenes. Yes, the CEO of Fathom Events, John Ruby, said in a statement, "We can't wait to bring this family favorite back to its home on the big screen. The Iron Giant is meant to be seen and heard in movie theaters, and this is a great chance for fans new and old to enjoy this classic remastered with new scenes." Now, for anybody who has not seen it, shame on you. But let me give you a brief rundown. The Iron Giant tells the story of a rebellious Maine boy, and when I mean Maine, I'm talking Maine as in the state, named Hogarth, who befriends a towering 50-foot robot voiced by I Am Groot, Vin Diesel, who's both wanted and feared in 1957 America at the height of Cold War paranoia. And this was Brad Bird's very first film.
Interesting that we should talk about Vin Diesel this week. It's his birthday.
Well, go figure. Anyway, the movie was soundly ignored in the box office when it opened. It only debuted at number 9, ultimately grossing only $23.2 million, which is really, that's not a lot. The critics loved it, but it it got completely ignored. Although I think it gained cult status after Brad joined Pixar and then did The Incredibles. And then I think people kind of decided to go back and take a second look. Well, following the brief theatrical re-release, a high-definition version of the Iron Giant Signature Edition is going to be available from digital retailers in the fall of 2015. More information about the September 30th release can be found on the Fathom Events tickets page, and that's I think it's fathomevents.com. So check that out.
Absolutely. We'll be there.
Oh, heck yeah, we're going to be there. Now, also recently released, MTV, the channel that used to be music, that then went into reality TV, is now going into fantasy.
Original programming.
Fantasy original programming. They unveiled at Comic-Con a first look at their television adaptation of Terry Brooks' classic fantasy series, The Shannara Chronicles. And it is wild. There is a trailer that is available. It will be on our show notes. It was filmed in New Zealand because that is, I think, the filming destination now, because as we've seen in Lord of the Rings and in The Hobbit, New Zealand is one of the wildest countries in terms of its exotic geography.
Yes.
I mean,
in a small
you can get a desert, you can get a rainforest, you can get a snowy mountaintop. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities in New Zealand. We have to go there one day, I swear.
They can control the weather.
Yes, they have. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Weta Digital has learned how to control the weather there.
Exactly.
Anyway, the movie's going to be starring Austin Butler, Ivana Baquero, Amelia Burns, I like these last two, John Rhys Davies, and Manu Bennett.
Wow.
Are going to be also in this. And some of the episodic writing is going to be done by Terry Brooks himself, and it debuts on MTV January 2016. And again, look for our trailer on our website for the show notes for this very show.
Yeah. So does MTV stand for imaginative?
Anyway, moving right along. Thank you. A couple of episodes ago, we talked about how a new character named John Clark was going to be joining the sophomore season of CW's The Flash. Now, we also had in the season finale a silver helmet that kind of got tossed through a portal, and we were already doing some postuling. Yeah, that's a new word. We were posturing the idea that it could have been, will he be Jay Garrick? I mean, that helmet does belong to the Silver Age Flash. Well, at Comic-Con, it was released that the appearance of Jay Garrick's winged helmet, well, it was more than just an Easter egg. I mean, it turns out that Jeff Johns...
It was the Easter chicken.
The Easter chicken, yes. That crossed the road to get its silver winged helmet. Jeff Johns confirmed that the winged helmet is indeed a story point, and he assured fans at Comic-Con that we are going to see Jay Garrick in the second season of The Flash. So that's all we really know about it. There is zero announcement as to who is going to play either John Clark or Jay Garrick. Of course, a lot of people are thinking that maybe the two of them are connected. We'll just have to wait and see. And as soon as we know anything, we will be sure to share it with all of you.
Yes.
Now, this little bit literally broke just like within the last hour or so.
From our recording.
Yes, from the time we recorded this. At the Warner Brothers announced at their panel at Comic-Con today, in fact, the movie previously announced as Green Lantern will now be called Green Lantern Corps. The film will presumably keep its June 19th, 2020 release date. 2020?
Good God.
Wow.
That's 5 years from now. I'll have aged 5 years by then.
Yeah, and anything could happen between now and then. Meaning that it's still a bit off. Oh, you think? And the current film of Warner Brothers / DCE's announced schedule, whatever. Along with the film's name change, there was an image that was shown featuring a large group of Green Lanterns. It's like something you might see in any of the DC comic books, including multiple Earthbound Green Lanterns, something rumors have been pointing to for the last few weeks. As far as casting or crew information, there is nothing. We don't know anything yet about this, except that it has just been announced. For us Green Lantern fans, and as I'm talking to you, Brad Boyer, I'm sure this is something that a lot of you can just really geek out over. And lastly, in the area of rumor, it looks like Civil War, the new Captain America film, has added a huge new addition to the cast. Now, it has already been stated that Tom Holland, who will be playing Spider-Man, will be in the upcoming film, but there's been all sorts of speculation as to what his involvement is going to be. And for people who read the Civil War comic book, Spider-Man was actually the key character, oddly enough, in the Civil War. You've got the two sides that are, you've got one side that is being sort of led by Tony Stark's Iron Man, and you have the other side led by Captain America. And the two sides obviously are fighting with each other. And in the comic book, Spider-Man originally sided with Iron Man, but at some point during the story, changes allegiances and sides with Captain America. And it's a huge tipping point for the entire comic book series. And a poster was released that it's the same one that we've sort of seen before of Steve Rogers and Tony Stark in the Iron Man outfit, kind of standing shoulder to shoulder. But in this new poster, there's actually Spider-Man standing right in between the two of them. There's a lot of speculation. I mean, Civil War is not a Sony flick. Spider-Man is. So there could be some truth to this maybe being a test poster or possibly something for the studio. So we don't quite know right from the get-go. There's also a really an awesome other poster that has, you see a picture of Spider-Man's arm, each one being grabbed, or the arm being grabbed by both Captain America and Iron Man. There's a lot of interesting artwork that's being bandied about, and of course, this appears to be all nothing more than just kind of test work. We'll have to just wait and see just shortly before we actually come to the release of Civil America to see if there's any truth to this. I think it's kind of exciting. I know this was the original plan, and before Sony managed to negotiate the rights to Spider-Man with Marvel, the key character was going to be Black Panther. He was going to be the one who's caught in the middle of all of this. But now that they've got Spider-Man back, it sounds like that they're really going to try and maybe go back to the original story. Of course, they're probably going to have to do some more negotiating with Sony about this. But if this is indeed possible, I think this could just really flesh out the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, because if when you look at the entire Marvel comic industry, Spider-Man is it. Spider-Man is to the Marvel comic books what Mickey Mouse is to the Disney company. Spider-Man is basically the face of Marvel. I mean, regardless of the fact that Marvel Cinematic Universe has all been about, Iron Man, Captain America, etc. The fact that they can actually try and use Spider-Man now as the face of their properties, I think is a really great thing and could only help flesh out these movies. So I'm kind of jazzed about that. They have started filming. We still have a little bit of a wait to go. This is something for all of us Marvel fans to kind of salivate over until we actually get up to the release date. Roger Rees, he recently passed away. He was most famous for playing Nicholas Nickleby, which was a marathon play. In fact, the play was even filmed as a stage play. It was filmed for CBS, and my mother even has a videotape of it. But Roger Rees, he was not exactly entirely a stranger to genre programming. I mean, I think most Americans will probably know him for his role in the sitcom Cheers, but he also played a part in it was a sci-fi series on Fox called Mantis, as well as being one of the big heavies in some of the earlier seasons of Warehouse 13. Yes. So, yes, it's a sad day that he passed away at only the age of 71. So, yes, we give our condolences to him. He was survived by his husband. So we're all deeply saddened at his passing.
Yes. And I do want to give a shout out to the IndieAZ Fest. We went to that on Thursday evening, July 9th. And I just want to say, support your local filmmakers, wherever you are. Support them, go to film fests, be there for them, view their works. There are some really great works that are produced by local independent filmmakers. And
well, we both wrote up a little review, and it is available on our website for anybody who wants to know what we thought about it. And as I wrote in mine, what was great about this is that we're not only paying our respects and celebrating the filmmakers, the directors and the writers and producers, but it was also a chance to honor the actors as well.
Yes. Because
they should not be forgotten. There was some very, very strong acting performances in a lot of what we saw.
Yes.
So, yes.
Support your filmmakers and cast, crew, etc.
Yes, absolutely. And if there's a film festival that is local for your particular state, like the one that we went to it was basically IndieAZ Fest. So this was for Arizona filmmakers. If there's a film festival for the filmmakers of your area, go to it. Support them in some fashion or another, because they put a lot of their own time, their own energy, their own money into putting these things out, and these products are labors of love. We had the privilege of actually being able to speak to Matt Chesson and Jeff Lynne, who did one movie that we loved at the Phoenix Love Sci-Fi, and that was Focus, and it was presented again at the IndieAZ Fest, and we got to talk to them a little bit, and we could tell quite clearly how much blood, sweat, tears, everything, their soul, their lives that they put into making Focus. And when you see that kind of dedication on their faces, you can't help but gain some newfound respect for what they do. We all get really cynical when it comes to professional filmmakers because they're all drawing huge paychecks. Well, guess what? These people aren't. They're doing it they're doing it with their own money.
Exactly.
And it's because they believe in what they're doing. And I have nothing but the highest respect for that.
And up next week, we have an interview with a local filmmaker to San Diego, Mr. Jeff Patton. He's the creator, producer, and director of Origin Beyond the Impact, or BTI. So join us then. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We have several links on the page. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Cheers.